Well, good morning. Figure I'll make a video while I'm sitting around waiting. Let's get me. I can't see what you're seeing, so I don't know if the camera's pointed at me, but that's basically what I look like. And just sitting here in the seat. And now let me put it in the holder right here. I'm gonna put it in this. Let me back up here. I'm gonna put it in that phone holder right there, so I don't have to hold the phone. Otherwise, my arm will get tired. So, man, a lot has happened since the last time I made a video. It would take me hours to explain everything that happened, going into as much detail as I normally go into. Is it still crooked? Close enough. So why am I at the shop? This is the shop in Oklahoma City that I normally get all of my PMs done and all of my just general repairs and stuff like that. The only time I put my truck in the shop out over the road is whenever I absolutely have to. If something breaks that does not have to get fixed right away, I generally wait until I get home to get it fixed, and I get it fixed here. I don't trust any mechanics, but these, I don't know. I wouldn't say that I trust these guys, but I trust them more than I trust most mechanics. Trey, the one right there on the right, in shorts, pushing the broom. Well, they're both pushing brooms, but the one in shorts without a hat on, that's Trey. He's the main mechanic, and he's the one that usually works on all my stuff. He's the one that I know here. So I'll talk about why I'm here. It's just routine type stuff. There's nothing like major wrong with my truck. I'm just here to get some, stuff worked on. Like, everything's working at the moment. I could take the truck out over the road right now. Nothing is broken. It's just there are some things not working as well as I want them to work. I'll talk about that more in a minute. So what's happened since the last video? Well, oh my goodness. I think I was in Troutdale, Oregon at the TA. I took a load for Home Depot from Lacey, Washington to Billings, Montana. There was a tremendous amount of drama with that load. It was not ready on time. I had to sit around for like 13 hours waiting on the load to get ready. It was supposed to be it was a preloaded trailer, and I had to wait 13 hours past the appointment time for it. And then the trailer that I ended up getting had a whole bunch of issues. I ended up spending a total of about 2 days in the shop over that trailer, and I never got all the issues resolved because of all kinds of problems with the shops that I went to. Like the TA, I was there for almost 2 days. Well, I was there for like one full 24-hour period at the TA that overlapped into another day, and mechanics just didn't show up. The day shift didn't show up. All the people that were supposed to show up at 8 a.m., all those mechanics called out sick and said their cars were broke down. So the person at the front desk was like, the manager is trying to go around and pick them up and trying to talk them into coming into work, so I don't know if they're going to show up or not. Like, oh my goodness. But all kinds of issues like that, and I never ended up getting the ABS issue resolved with the trailer because of that. Load number 2, after that Billings load, I booked a load from Dickinson, North Dakota, which is like a 340-mile deadhead, to Dickinson, North Dakota to Longview, Texas. The load did not pay very well. It was not a very good load, but I needed to get home because my medical card was about to expire. I only had like a couple of weeks left before my medical card expired. So I had to get home to get my medical card redone. So that Longview is only like a couple hundred miles away from my house. So I took that load to get home on, and it was a frac pump. It was hauling a towaway, customer equipment. And I thought, oh, that's neat. It's going to be pretty cool to drive down the road with some weird looking equipment. Well, I had to give up my trailer, so I had to get in touch with Trailer Utilization. I had to drive 200 miles out of route to drop my trailer off. And then in addition to that, the 340 deadhead miles. So it's like 540 deadhead miles to get to that to Dickinson, North Dakota, to pick that damn frac pump up. And then when I get there, it's like a salvage yard. It's just a field that they've been parking oil equipment in. And most of it is just buried in mud. And when I say buried, I mean the frac pump I was supposed to pick up, the landing gears were underground and the tires were halfway underground. The belly of the trailer was on the ground. It would have taken a regular tow truck would not, supposedly that frac pump weighed 50,000 pounds. A regular like semi tow truck, I don't think would have been able to pull that out of the mud. It would have required some specialized equipment to get that trailer out of the mud, especially considering that the area around the equipment was just like a field. It wasn't like the tow equipment was going to be able to park on some nice solid pavement or anything like that. The tow equipment would have been in, just parked on the dirt. I mean, they dumped some gravel and tried to make some pathways in the field, but it looked like a salvage yard to me is what it looked like. And the equipment was in extreme disrepair. Like, it was in no condition to be hauled down the road. It was missing landing gears, wheel wells or wheel covers were missing. There was a bunch of hoses and lines of all various kinds on these frac pumps. None of it was properly secured. It was all just dangling and hanging loose. There were pieces that had fallen off of these frac pumps that people had just picked up off the ground and thrown up on top of the frac pumps. It was just the flat tires. I mean, just extreme disrepair. All this stuff had to get towed out of the mud, and then it needed extensive shop time to get it in any condition to be hauled down the road. I didn't even bother looking at paperwork to see if the registration and the DOT inspection and any of that stuff was, current. So it was just, as soon as I spent 2 hours walking around in that field. It was raining, it was muddy, it was 50 degrees, wind was blowing at like 40, 50 miles an hour. Like, it was horrible conditions. And I was out there for 2 hours in that, inspecting all of the frac pumps that this particular broker needed moved, because he told me if there was an issue with the one he assigned to me, that I could haul any of the other ones. And I inspected all 4 that this asshole had. None of them were in any condition remotely close to being able to be moved legally down the road. So I called the Landstar agent and told him to cancel this load. I want a truck ordered, not used, because I had to deadhead so far to pick this shit up. And none of this stuff is none of it is roadworthy. None of it is remotely in any kind of condition to be hauled down the road. It all needs to be pulled out of the mud. It needs to go in the shop. It needs a lot of work. And I'm not going to sit around for 2 or 3 days while all this happens, because I don't think a tow truck is going to be able to tow any of this stuff out of the mud until the ground dries up. And that, it was actively raining at that time, so it could have taken 2 or 3 days just for them to get it out of the mud, and then it had to go in the shop after that. But anyway, I told the Landstar agent this. He told the originating agent, the broker, because this is just some spot market bullshit load that a Landstar agent reposted onto the Landstar board. So the originating broker, Kane, this asshole from Southern something, I forget the name of his company, he calls me up like 30 seconds after I cancel the load with the Landstar agent. He's like, "Hey, I was just told you canceled the load. What's going on?" And I'm like, "Yeah, none of this equipment is roadworthy. Like, all this equipment needs to be towed out of the mud, and just all the same shit I just told you." And he's like, "I've got to..." He apparently knew that it needed to be towed out of the mud, and he said that he had tow trucks en route to pull it out of the mud. And he said that I needed to just sit around and wait. And I said, not only does this need to be towed out of the mud, all this stuff needs significant shop time. I'm not going to sit around and wait for this stuff. I'm done. I'm not going to do this. And I said, and I want a truck ordered, not used, because you hired me to move this equipment and it is not in any condition to move. You didn't, hire me to come down here and be a foreman and tell you all the stuff that's broken on this equipment and manage. What he wanted was somebody to sit down there and oversee all the operations of the equipment getting towed out and tell him what was broken, and he would send mechanics out there to fix what I tell them was broken. He didn't hire me to do that. He hired me to haul it from point A to point B. Anyway, I'm getting mad just sitting here talking about it right now. He refused to pay me a penny. I talked with the Landstar agent, and I talked with Landstar customer service or operations or whatever, and both of them told me that there was nothing they could do about the broker refusing to pay me on the truck order not used. And he was just an absolute asshole about it. He told me if I wanted to get paid, that I had to sit around and wait for the equipment to get, in condition to be moved down the road. So I just said, fuck you guys, and left. And, he screwed me over so bad because I had to deadhead from Dickinson, North Dakota, all the way to Omaha, Nebraska to get another trailer. That was the nearest trailer the trailer utilization could find me. So by the time I get to Omaha, Nebraska, I'm only 400 miles away from my house. I can't remember the exact mileage. I think it's 480 miles from Omaha, Nebraska to where I park my truck in South Oklahoma City. So to the edge of Oklahoma City, it's probably around 450 miles. But 480 miles. And the empty trailer that I drove all the way down to Omaha to pick up. And by the way, the mileage on that, I don't know what the mileage is. I haven't bothered to look it up because it's just depressing to think about it. I think it was somewhere in the area of 800 miles. Just a second here. I think Trey's coming over to talk to me. We ready?
Just about. If you want to, go ahead and pull around to the middle bay, because that's the bay I'm going to pull you in.
Go into the other side and nose into the middle bay?
Nose up to the middle bay. I'll pull you in as soon as I got to mop up a few spots over there before I pull you in, and we got to finish the sweep up. But we're just about done, so I figured I'd get you around there.
All right, thanks, sir. All right, I need to go to the other side of the building. All right, so what was I saying? The mileage from Dickinson, North Dakota to Omaha, Nebraska, I think it was somewhere roughly in the area of 800 miles. Going the route that I went through Fargo, North Dakota, I mean, you probably could have taken a shorter route by taking some back roads, cutting across. Some country roads or something in South Dakota, but I took interstate the whole way there. So my total deadhead mileage from the time I dropped that load off in Billings to the time I got to Omaha was 540 plus 800. That's 1340. We'll say 1400 miles. Somewhere in the area. No, I don't want fifth gear. Let's go down to third gear. We'll say somewhere in the area of 1,400 miles. And then, once I was in Omaha, I was only 480 miles away from the house. I tried finding a load to get home on from Omaha, but the empty trailer that I picked up in Omaha, Nebraska, had issues. I had to put it in the damn shop. All these steering wheel holders in this damn industry are so frustrating. Almost every trailer I pick up, I have to put in the damn shop because of all the steering wheel holders in this industry. And yeah, I'm doing the 5 mile an hour creep. It doesn't really matter because I'm going to be doing a 34-hour reset after this. I just don't want to mess with the hours of service clock. I've been sitting at home for a week and a half, and after I get out of the shop, I'm going to sit home for another week. But I just don't want to mess with the hours of service clock. It's really tight on this side, so I'm hugging to the left as far as I can. I'm probably going to have to back up and pull forward multiple times to get lined up with this bay because there's just not very much room on this side of the building. might not have to. Looks like I just so happen to get it perfect. All right, let's finish the story. Oh man, this thing got tilted upward. Let's tilt it back down. The hell was I saying? So by the time they got the trailer fixed, which ended up being a really easy fix, the trailer was way overdue for a DOT inspection by Landstar standards. It still had a legal DOT inspection, but it was way over. Landstar requires the inspections be done every 120 days, and this inspection hadn't been done in like 8 months. So Landstar requires them every 4 months, and this one had not been done in like 8 months. So I put it into a SAP Brothers to get a DOT inspection done, and the ABS. It's 2 trailers in a row. The ABS did not work. But the ABS issue this time ended up being a really easy fix. But all it was, they told me that the cable from the ABS system was not plugged into the ECM. So they said all they had to do was plug it in. But they didn't get me done until 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday. So I wasn't able to find a load to leave the house on, or to get to the house on, not leave the house. I wasn't able to find a load to get to the house on, and I was looking at setting through the weekend, waiting until new loads were posted on Monday. So I just made the decision to just go ahead and deadhead home Friday night. And that was not this past Friday. That was the Friday before that I deadheaded home. And then that Monday, no, it wasn't that Monday, it was that the following Tuesday, I went in and got my medical card done. Good news, I passed it with flying colors. I now have a 2-year medical again, not a 6-month like last time. I failed my medical last time. I maxed out the protein thing. It said that I had like extremely high levels of protein, and you can go back and watch my video on that, on my failed medical exam, and I explain why my protein levels were so high. But I passed it with flying colors this time. Everything came back almost perfect, and I got my my 2-year medical. And then after I got the medical done, I called down here to schedule an appointment to get in the shop, and they told me the first opening they had was today, Tuesday, the following Tuesday. And so that's what I'm doing here, is it's the following Tuesday. So what am I getting done on the truck? I've been having, okay, let me briefly explain, and then I'll go into more detail. So I'm getting some electrical lines replaced on the APU. There are 3 electrical lines that I'm going to have them look at and potentially replace. From the generator to the capacitor is one, from the generator to the control unit is another, and from the alternator to the batteries is another. The electrical lines from the generator to the capacitor are bad. They have to be replaced without a doubt. That's the main reason that we're looking at all the wiring issues, is because of those. But I want them to inspect the others, and we may be replacing the others as well. And then the other thing we're going to do in the shop is work on more air leaks on the truck. Last time I was home, I had the truck in the shop, and we spent all day working on air leaks. We replaced a ton of parts for air leaks, but we ran out of time, and 5 o'clock hit. We replaced the last thing for an air leak, and it was time for them to go home, but I still had more air leaks. So now we're putting it back in the shop again to work on even more air leaks. And I think there's going to be some expensive parts that we're going to have to replace for the air leaks, because I think one of the parts that are leaking, I think it's the dump valve. That from the dealer, I think that's like a $400 part. I might be able to get it cheaper somewhere else. We'll see. But before I go out and buy a dump valve, I want them to look at it and make sure that I actually need a dump valve. So, yeah, that's what we're doing today, is we're looking at and replacing electrical lines, and we're looking at and repairing air leaks. So, I think they're trying to decide which bay to put me in, which one would be the easiest to work on me from. But that's what's going on today. I already bought a bunch of electrical lines because I wanted top quality stuff. So I bought some full copper electrical lines for these guys to use. And I bought the fittings that I know we need, but I don't know what all fittings we need. So there's some fittings that they're probably going to have to, they probably have on stock, or I might have to go down to the shop and get some. But I brought a little bag full of electrical lines and stuff. So I think I'm going to wrap this up because I think they're about to pull me into a bay any second. So I'll go ahead and wrap this video up and upload it. But that's basically what's going on with me. I made some pretty good money while I was out over the road last time, because I only hauled 2 loads, but they were 2 really good paying loads. So I made somewhere around $11,000 or $12,000 last time I was out over the road, total gross to the truck. But I really try to make $15,000 gross to the truck when I'm out over the road, so it wasn't quite as good as I'd hoped it'd be. If I would have been able to haul a load from Billings to the house, I would have easily made the $15K. But because that broker screwed me over and I ended up deadheading almost 2,000 miles to get home, that cost me a lot of money in fuel, and it ended up screwing me over by not getting paid on any kind of loads. But it wasn't bad. I made a lot of money while I was out there. I just could have made more, and I'm upset that I didn't make more. And I'm not sure when exactly I'm going to go back out over the road after I get done here. I don't book loads until everything is done, because you never know what kind of, like, I could have gone in to get my medical card updated and they could have denied me, and they could have failed me on something, and then all of a sudden my license is downgraded and I'm screwed over. So I didn't want to book a load until after the medical card situation was resolved. And who knows what's going to happen in the shop here. Something could break while they're working on it, and I may, be stuck waiting on a part to ship to me for 2 months because they broke some part that's out of stock everywhere, and my truck can't move without that part. So I'm waiting until after everything is done, and then I will start looking to book a load. The freight market around where I live, the Oklahoma City, Dallas area, is really good. So I should not have any issues finding a load. But right now, the freight market is incredibly volatile, and the freight is just, prices are all over the place. One of the weirdest things I'm seeing in the freight market is that California freight sucks. Like, California freight is normally the best freight that you can get in the country, and California is like one of the bad, it's not a terrible freight market right now, but it's not like the super premium freight market it normally is. And I don't know how to explain that, because I've looked into containers coming into the ports, and the person in charge of the ports did an interview, and he said that they're still setting records for the number of containers that they're offloading at the Port of Long Beach, Port of Los Angeles. So even though China is having lots of lockdowns over there, China is trying to keep their manufacturing and transportation industries open during the lockdowns, and it's not having the huge impact on freight that people expected it would. There's still a tremendous amount of freight coming over from China. So I don't know why freight rates are dropping in California like they are, but I don't like going to California in the first place. The only reason I go over there is because they just throw stupid amounts of money at me to entice me over there. Without that, without that enticement, the stupid amounts of money, that I'm not going to bother with going over there, because California is the most anti-trucker state that exists. And like, it's just a terrible place for a truck driver to be. I hate California. California is just an absolute shithole for a truck driver. So without crazy amounts of money to lure me over there, I'm not going to California. But that could change in a matter of hours. The freight market changes very rapidly. So who knows what's going to be going on, tomorrow. But right now we're dealing with a lot of volatility in the world supply chain. We're dealing with a lot of volatility in currency markets. We're dealing with a lot of volatility in the economies of the world. And all of that affects the freight market. So it's creating a lot of freight market volatility. Some areas are good, some areas are bad, and it's fluctuating wildly. Whoa, buddy. The fan just got blown over. The wind is blowing pretty hard out here. I don't know if you can see in the camera the truck getting shaken around. But, yeah, let me wrap this video up because I think they're really close to pulling me into a bay. Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna try to do whenever I do go back out over the road is I'm gonna try to run north-south in the central US. I'm gonna try to run Wisconsin to Texas, basically. Wisconsin to Texas, north-south. That would be ideal for me. I'm going to try to avoid running east-west because the north-south, the central part of the United States seems to be very stable and a very good freight market. The West Coast is insanely volatile. Like, it's just crazy volatile on the West Coast. And I don't really pay a lot of attention to the East Coast because I had to run the East Coast a lot when I was with USA Truck, and I just fucking hate the East Coast. So I don't really look at loads going to the East Coast. They can't pay me enough money to get me to go back to the East Coast. But yeah, I think I'm going to try to stay in the central US. But anything else I want to say before I wrap the video up? I don't think so. I can't think of anything. So I hope you're doing well in, all of these, crazy times that we're in. We have a lot of stuff going on in the world, and all of that affects the freight market, which affects our livelihood. So we work in an industry where we are doubly impacted by world events. If you work at some salary job or some job where you get paid a flat hourly rate and you have a standard weekly schedule, and the world economy goes to shit, the only thing that you really have to worry about is completely losing your job, a layoff. And that type of thing usually takes a long time to happen for a business. If the world economy takes a shit today, they're probably not going to be doing layoffs for 6 months to a year from now. Whereas in our industry that we work in, if the world economy takes a shit, our freight rates are going to be immediately impacted. So, in my opinion, we are doubly impacted by stuff going on in the world, which is why I think every owner-operator needs to be paying attention to what in the hell is going on in the world, so that you know what to expect, what's going to be happening, 6 months from now, a week from now. You need to be making plans for that, so be paying attention to what's going on in the world, because we are impacted by that, and that is a good and a bad thing. One of the reasons, and there are a lot of reasons that I became an owner-operator, that I quit my 9-to-5 corporate job and decided to become a truck driver and become an owner-operator. There's a lot of reasons I made that decision, but one of the reasons I made that decision was because of wages. Inflation has been going up for several decades, and it has been outpacing wages by a considerable amount. When people talk about how things used to be better in the old days, that's true, because things are constantly getting worse, because inflation is constantly going up, and wages do not keep up with inflation. So the standard of living is constantly going down over time. And I wanted to get out of that rat race. One of the reasons that I became an owner-operator was because I was working in a job where my wage was not keeping up with inflation. And I had been working for that company for like 12 years, and I was making like $27 an hour, and they were hiring trainees fresh off the street that were flipping burgers at McDonald's a week ago at like $23, $25 an hour. So fuck them for treating me like that. Just a second, they're about to pull me in. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to get into something like this, is because as wages and everything go up, our earnings as owner-operators go up with that. He just waved me in. All right, so I gotta let air pressure build up. Get this down in a second here. All right. So thanks for watching. Have a good one. Bye.